All right, hello baseball fans in Canada, the United States, Jamaica. We got tons of listeners in Jamaica, by the way. It is episode 8 of Bat Flips and Maple Dips. My name is Clayton Croker from Saskatoon. To my left, we have Justin Anderson from Saskatoon. And the man, the myth, the legend, the maritime mistress maker, we got Patrick Marsh via Skype. Now, usually these guys take care of titling the episodes, but I see that you guys were super lazy and didn't think of a title for this episode, so I'm just going to make one up on the spot. This is episode 8, the Pablo Sanchez episode, because just like Pablo Sanchez and Backyard Baseball, this episode is going to be the tits. We're talking about the sweep of the Baltimore Orioles. Man, is Baltimore bad. My goodness. We're going to have a new segment called The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, which I think we did way back in the day.
Kind of a revamp.
We got a roundtable discussion. We got a bunch of stuff to do today, and as always, the rant. We'll talk about some advanced stats. We'll swear a few times here or there. It's going to be fun. Buckle up for a fun ride. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/BatFlipsMapleDips. On Twitter, that's the best one. We're freaking hilarious on Twitter. At BFMD Podcast. On SoundCloud, just look up Batflips-Maple Dips, iTunes, Google Play Music. You can find us there. Tell your friends. We'd really appreciate it. Let's talk about the sweep of the Baltimore Orioles, gentlemen, because the boys look good from start to finish of this series. I want to start with the second game. The first game was really, really close, but because I want to talk about Marcus Stroman. That's what we talk about all the time on this podcast. He is the most polarizing figure for the Toronto Blue Jays. 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 7 Ks. Bullpen shut it down. It seems like whenever Marcus Stroman plays well, the Jays play well. Their bullpen is doing great. It just seems there is a different attitude when he is pitching well, especially at home. Justin, what do you think of the Stro Show? There we go.
Well, the saying, like as teams go, their best players go, and we always talk about hitting being contagious. Well, pitching is the same way. If your starter can come in and keep the opposition off balance and shut them down, your bullpen's got a much better chance of doing the same thing. If you got a starter who gets rocked around in the first 2 innings, the other team is locked in. They're hitting like crazy. They're going to bring in a bullpen guy, and he's going to get lit up too. So Stroman did what any starter should be expected to do. He delivered a quality start. He went 7 innings, and he, like you said, he struck out 7 guys and only walked a couple. So, I mean, as far as a start goes, you can't ask for more than that from anyone.
Absolutely not, no. Patrick Stroh, you are very, very critical of Marcus Stroman. What did you think of him this week?
Great start. Exactly what he needed to go out there and do. He shut me up. I definitely owe an apology of some sorts. We'll get to that. But I got to say, I'm starting to think that Marcus Stroman represents something more than what I thought he did. I thought he was just some guy who's looking out for himself. He's got his own brand he's trying to take care of. And when the team sucks, he blames it on everybody. When he sucks, he blames it on everybody. Like, I was just worried that, I guess, Stroman was a certain type of player, and I think that I was very wrong, and he might actually represent the beating heart of this team. When, like you said, when Stroman is good on the mound, the Jays are good, and they feed off of that. And it's very, very powerful, and it was very evident in that 4-1 win.
I think there are a lot of negatives to Marcus Stroman's antics on the mound. Like, he's a very body language kind of guy. You can tell when he's upset, and it kind of gets everyone down. But on the flip side, when he's up and he's feeling it, he's screaming after strikeouts and stuff. He's doing the little shimmy with the shoulders. Everyone feeds off of that. Let's go back in time now to Game 1 of that series. Gaviglio, 7 2/3. He was probably left in a little too long. But let's talk about the bats here in this game, gentlemen. Diaz, 4 for 5 with the home run. Martin, 2 for 5 with a home run. What? By the way, his average, 184. Killing it. Gritch Daddy had another home run as well. The bats, I think, set the tone for this whole series with that game because Clippard blew another save, but they had his back.
We talk about it all the time. It seems like whenever we get into these slugfest games, we have some sort of unexpected hero, and I think Diaz was kind of the guy.
Yeah.
That game. We don't see too many 4-hit efforts from Aledmus Diaz, so we'll take it and we'll run with it at this point.
Who stood out for you in that game, Patrick?
Well, I mean, aside from Diaz, I'm kind of liking Axford. The Axeman got 2 wins this week. I know wins aren't everything. I'm Justin, but
Hey,
honestly,
that was a
he
great
is-
impression, by
I
the
know.
way.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Spot
yeah.
on.
Well done.
I'm throwing some shade out there, but no, but really, Axford, he had a notable week. He did almost blow the third game in a spectacular fashion,
Yeah.
but he managed to hold on. I was really happy about that, but this week, really, as far as like if we were to give 3 stars away, Stroman gets 1. Diaz was great in both games. The first 2 games, he went 4 for 5. The first one, like you said, he went 2 for 3 in the second one. And this is Aledmus Diaz, who's not really known for getting lots of hits, but I'm pretty sure that Grichuk went yard twice too, so he's getting another star.
Yeah, Grichuk, his average is up to 214. At the start of the year, it was not looking good. So the fact that his average is at 214 right now, and he has 13 home runs, like the guy's got a lot of pop in his bat for a guy who went through an extremely bad cold spell.
Yeah.
Solarte has kind of been hit or miss. I mean, he's been very, very streaky. That's the kind of batter he is with his big swing. But let's talk about Jay Happ for a minute in that 5-4 win. He only went 5 innings, but 9 strikeouts, no walks. 1 earned run, got the no decision, but does that start save all of the other starts that he had, like those 3 rough starts? Does that prove that, okay, he is a trade commodity? Like, is he back to where he was before those 3 awful starts, or do you still think he needs to prove it with another start to get the full refund back from him?
I don't know if we'll see Happ make another start. And the one thing I'll say is, while 9 strikeouts are impressive, we have to remember that it was against the Baltimore Orioles.
That's very true.
So there's an interesting stat that came up this week about the Orioles. There are 286 major and minor league teams in North America, and the Baltimore Orioles have the 286th best winning percentage. They're dead last.
They're horrible.
They're
such a bad baseball team.
Bad.
I don't understand. Like, the Jays are bad too, but at least we're kind of, stringing together some wins here or there and staying kind of in it. I mean, not really in our division, but in wild card, you could make the argument we're still in it, and I'm doing the finger quotes right now because we really aren't.
If 15 games is in it,
you could make the argument. You could, but like at least we're not Baltimore. Like at least we have more than 30 wins. Like
that's true. It's pretty
this
incredible.
This Baltimore Orioles team is historically bad.
And also, what's their farm system like? Like at least our farm system is stacked.
Baltimore does have a couple of good players. They have Ryan Mountcastle, who's their top prospect.
Yeah.
He's in AAA, and they also acquired Yusniel Diaz from LA for Manny Machado.
Okay, yeah,
who
he's
was
a good
the
player.
Dodgers' top prospect.
Right.
The thing with Yusniel Diaz is he was probably 3rd in line on the call-up list for outfield prospects in LA, whereas now he's kind of got a quicker path to the majors, and Baltimore's a better park to hit in than Dodger Stadium. So I mean, fantasy owners like myself who have Yusniel Diaz in a dynasty league are pretty happy that he has an easier path to the majors, even though it's with Baltimore and that train wreck of a team. But yeah, Baltimore, I can't say enough bad things about them. Like once Machado got traded, he had a 315 average with them. Their next best guy was Adam Jones at 275. So it's just like 40 points of a difference. Like there's nobody that was even in Machado's neighborhood.
Yeah. Let's talk about Gurriel Jr. here for a minute. Let's go to Patrick first, the Maritime Mistress Maker. His average is at 281. You've been a big fan of Gurriel Jr. on this podcast before. How satisfied are you with that 281? Is he meeting your expectations? Is he exceeding them? Is he just below them?
In terms of his plate presence, he's definitely meeting my expectations. I think it was the week before the All-Star break. He had a couple of really ugly-ass games where he had errors, and he just looked like he was lost out there, like he had never played baseball before. But at the plate, I think I said it last week, I think he's going to be an all-star for us next year. I just have this feeling that Gurriel is going to go out and really surprise some people at a camp, his first full MLB camp where he has job security, because I do think we're getting rid of Devin Travis, and I think we'll see Gurriel at second next year.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be, that's my spicy take for the week. But Gurriel has been, he's something else. I remember how I was kind of skeptical of when Yuli had said that his brother was better than he was at the plate. And we're starting to kind of see that a little bit from Lourdes. So props to him. I mean, to be fair, he did beat up on the Trash Birds, and that team is garbage. And I'm just going to call them the Trash Birds from now on.
Sure.
I'm not going to refer to them as the Orioles.
Mhm.
But yeah, Gurriel is definitely here to stay. It would be ridiculous if he got sent back down. And at the plate, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. It's great.
So here's a would you rather for the next 2 weeks. Would you rather have Gurriel in the lineup, who has been consistent pretty much the whole season long? He's got a pretty high batting average. Or would you rather have Randall Grichuk in the lineup for you, who's pretty red hot since he got off the DL? He's batting .262. Again, he's got a lot of pop in his bat, and he's striking out a lot less than he has been in years past. His career strikeouts 29.2%. It's at 21.4.
Yeah.
So would you rather have Gurriel or Grichuk in the lineup right now?
Well, they play different positions.
Doesn't Gurriel play outfield?
No, he's a middle infielder.
Well, then never mind. I thought why
I
think
think
Gurriel?
you're thinking about
No.
Diaz.
Let's try it anyway.
Yeah,
Let's
just
say
say who would you rather have in the lineup right now, batting wise?
Grichuk,
Okay.
because he plays better defense too.
Okay.
He's a more complete player. Yeah.
I'm going with Gurriel because he can hit for average. He has a little bit of pop to him, but I like what he's doing at the plate right now. Grichuk still has a very long road to go before he actually hits what is supposed to be his expectation, like as far as his average goes. I know, like, he dug himself a massive hole, but I'd rather see Gurriel just because I think Gurriel's going to be on the team in like 3, 4, 5 years, while Grichuk is probably just kind of a stopgap for a few years.
I hope we keep Grich for more than a couple years, maybe like 1 or 2 more. But I don't see him as like a lifetime J kind of guy. But I am starting to learn to love Randall Grichuk. I don't know why. He's got a smooth swing. He looks like a ball player. I know I sound like the scout from Moneyball. I know, yeah.
I sound like Pat Tabler right now.
Let's talk about the Minnesota game if we have to. Again, the bullpen day,
bullpen
whatever.
day,
Like we'll just kind of chalk that up to as
What
the
is
bullpen.
this, the Tampa Bay Rays?
Yeah, the bullpen played pretty well in general. Jaime Garcia, 3 innings pitched with 3 Ks. I did
That's
not
well
see
done.
that coming. Again, Gurriel with another home run. Smoke had 3 hits. Again, we lost to Minnesota. We're pretty evenly matched when it comes to
Yeah.
them. Let's look ahead to the next 2 games against Minnesota. Do you see us winning those 2 games and taking the series, or do you see the Twins maybe sweeping us? Let's go with Patrick first. What do you think?
We're going to take the next 2 against the Twins, no question. The Twins are garbage, and right now the Jays are playing pretty good baseball. It was a bullpen day, so like honestly, that was an automatic L we were going to take. So I'm going to say we take 2 against. We're going to travel to Chicago, so we're in Chicago for the 3 against the Sox. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to sweep the Sox. They're trash. They're even worse than Baltimore, really. So I say we're going to win our next 5 in a row, and then we'll see what happens when we get to Oakland.
We sweep one awful baseball team, and all of a sudden Patrick is all on board the Blue Jays bandwagon. I think we should pump the brakes here a bit. I know the White Sox aren't great. I know Minnesota's not great either, but we're not that great either, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we beat the Orioles. Whatever,
That's
but
remember Patrick's tweet from last week where he said they're going to go 20-game win streak?
Yeah.
After the sweep of the
And they
Orioles,
started winning a bunch, I know.
texts me 17 to go.
I know,
It's
it was crazy.
Oh, my God.
The thing is, I see them probably winning like 3 or 4 out of the next 5, and then we never play good against Oakland. It's like Oakland and Tampa Bay for some reason.
Yeah.
We just never
and
play
Oakland's
well
good
against
this year,
them.
though,
They're
too.
not bad, exactly.
They are in contention for a wild card spot, that's for sure.
So that was the week that was. That was a quick look at the week ahead. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly over this past week. The good, Ryan Tepera, Captain Vanilla. Again, this guy, like, he's just so middle of the road. Again, he would be 75 overall on the show if he was a video game character. He's just such a middle of the road guy. So when he does play well, it makes him look awesome. 3 games since he's been activated on the DL, only 1 walk, 4 Ks in 2 1/3 innings. Ryan Tepera, what do we have to say about Teeps over here?
Well, I mean, I'm a little bit more high on Ryan Tepera than you are.
I'm not.
He strikes out a lot of guys, which is something that is valuable in the bullpen. And that's why his name had come up in trade rumors. I haven't heard it lately. But he could be a guy that gets tossed in some random deal as a kind of a value-added guy. But I mean, we're desperately in need of relievers who are consistent, and for the most part, he has been this year. His ERA is below 3 on the season, so I mean, for a reliever having a low ERA, that's a pretty good sign. He's been consistent. A lot of times you'll see a guy with like a 4.5 ERA who's actually doing pretty well. He's had a couple of bad games, yada, yada, yada. But Tepera's been pretty consistent all season. He's closed some games for us. He's fared a little bit better than Tyler Clippard has in save opportunities.
We'll get to him.
So,
Patrick, what about you? Ryan Tepera, and also touch on Gurriel a little bit too, because you touched on him when we were talking about the week that was, but get into specifically how good he's been playing in July here.
Yeah, for sure. Just to close the book on Ryan Tepera, hopefully we're getting close to the last time we ever have to talk about him. But he, like Justin said, he's done exactly what he needed to do since he came off the DL. Both he and Sangwon Oh have ERAs below 3 now. They're doing exactly what we need them to do. Guys, our bullpen's not that bad.
No, it's not.
No, it's gotten way better.
If you get rid of Tyler Clippard and add in a pre-2018 Roberto Osuna, this team would be above 500. But, I mean, we could talk about that a little bit later. That's not what the case is right now, but Tepera's been good. Gurriel is riding a 6-game multi-hit streak. His defense isn't really very good. Like I said, he makes errors, and sometimes he looks a little lost out there. But 12 games in July, he's batting .391.
Yeah.
His OBP is .417. He's got 2 dingers. He's got 2 extra base hits. He's only struck out 5 times. This kid is on fire. He needs to stay in the lineup. I don't care what position he plays. I don't care if he catches. This guy, we need him to be at the plate right now, because whatever it is he's locked into right now, we need to capture it and give it to all the other players, because he's just been blazing.
I think we should care if he does play catcher. I know that Russell Martin is bad, but he's not Gurriel starting at catcher
can play
bad.
Shortstop.
Oh, yeah, apparently.
See, I'd rather see Gurriel. The would you rather for me is Gurriel over Diaz at shortstop.
Yeah.
Gurriel's defense is shaky, but in terms of arm strength and ability to play there, he can do it. That would keep Travis, who's riding a hot streak right now, in at second base. Then Solarte would move to third. You could put Solarte and Diaz over at third, whatever, and then Smokey at first base. That's a pretty good infield in terms of offense.
That was the good. Let's get to the bad, and we'll go to Patrick quickly for the first part here. We were just talking about how good the bullpen is. Not Joe Biagini, though. Something happened to Joe Biagini. 2 years ago, he was that lovable giant. He was weird. He had great interview clips. And now Joe Biagini, he can't get the ball down. He's leaving the ball up in the strike zone, it seems like, almost every single time he's out there. Patrick, really quick, Joe Biagini, does he deserve to be on the bad part of the segment?
Yes, send him down back to AAA and bring up Sean Reed Foley and have him do the bullpen stuff.
In the bullpen,
I'm done. I'm done with Joe Biagini. I'm done. He's let us down too many times.
All right, Justin, your turn. Joe Biagini, is he on the naughty list per se?
He's on the naughty list right now. They say he's working on a new changeup, which is fine with me because we're not anywhere near contention.
Yeah.
So why not work on it now? It's basically like extra spring training at this point. All the games we play are meaningless unless we're playing a team who's in playoff contention. We can play spoiler, but we're not right now. I'm in the same boat as Patrick, where I'm kind of ready to see the Joe Biagini era in Toronto come to a close.
I don't think working on a changeup right now for Joe Biagini is a good idea, because, again, he can't keep the ball down.
Yeah.
So if he's working on a new changeup, it just means he's going to throw slower, and it's going to be right over the plate. So that's not good news for Jays fans. That's a bad combination right there. Let's get to the ugly, and this guy makes a living on the ugly list. Tyler Clippard. Again, when I saw this guy pitch for the Yankees, he was with the Yankees last year, not 2 years ago, right?
A couple years ago.
I remember seeing this guy for the Yankees a few years ago, and I was just like, I hate the way this guy looks. I don't know. I just couldn't get over his throwing style and his lankiness, and I was like, I hope he never becomes a J. Yeah, he did. And Clippard, again, blew another save against Baltimore, almost blew another one the very next day. And he's gotten so many second chances in this bullpen. Like, it seems like Gibby will always put him up there in good situations. Like, after he blows a save, a couple days later, he'll put him out there when the Jays are up 8-1 or 9-2 to get his confidence up, you know? So Gibby is trying to get this guy's confidence up, and he's giving him a lot of chances, but he hasn't delivered in those crucial situations. It looks like he turns a corner when he's in a game where it's 9-1 and it's like, okay, he got a couple strikeouts there. Maybe maybe it's a new Tyler Clippard. But then again, he goes into actual situations and he doesn't deliver. And you can't do that if you want to be a closer or a setup guy or any kind of relief pitcher in Major League Baseball. You have to deliver for that one inning you're called upon.
Yeah.
If you're a starter, you can maybe have one bad inning and maybe kind of regroup the next 4 and make up for it. You can't do that if you're a relief guy. And he just doesn't have it. He's kind of like Drew Storen. Remember we brought in Drew Storen with such high expectations?
Oh,
I
God.
think Tyler Clippard has lower expectations than Drew Storen. We thought Drew Storen was going to be the next Billy Koch, and he was not. He was the next Sergio Santos by the looks of it. Like he wasn't good for us. Sorry for bringing up bad memories with Drew Storen. But Tyler Clippard, I mean, him and Joe Biagini, they are the dark spots on what has been a great bullpen for the Jays the past couple weeks. If it wasn't for them, it'd be a pretty solid bullpen, I think.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think you covered how everyone feels about Tyler Clippard. He goes on those big streaks where he'll be good for 2 weeks and then he'll just crap the bed a few times in a row, and that's kind of what he's in right now.
All right, let's get to the round table here, where we're kind of go just around the horn, if you will. And nice baseball reference there. Thanks for the compliments, gentlemen. First up here, topic number 1: the Blue Jays outfield after July 31st and opening day 2019. Who do you think is going to be left out of the outfielders we have right now?
Well, I think we all know that Granderson is probably the most likely to be traded. Kevin Pillar has that clavicular injury, I think that's how it's pronounced, that he nearly died trying to make that catch.
Who knows? We're not doctors.
We're not doctors by any means. We're working radio.
Yeah. Opposite of doctors.
Yeah. So Granderson's going to be gone, which he's basically been platooning and playing a bit of DH anyway. So that doesn't hurt us too much defensively. Once Pillar comes back, I want to see Kevin Pillar in the corner. I want to see Grichuk in center field. He's been interesting there since Pillar's been out.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'd way rather have Pillar in center field just because he knows the position better.
He does. Grichuk played there in St. Louis, though.
I know, but I know, like, and they're Major League Baseball players. They can adjust in the outfield, but when it comes to Pillar's track record, I'd way rather have him in center field than Grichuk. Patrick, Pillar, or Grichuk in center field, opening day 2019, who would you rather see there?
None. I want Dwight Smith Jr. in center field.
You are you are making left turns all podcast long today.
All on the Dwight Smith Jr. train.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. Big plot twists. Actually, I mean, obviously, Curtis Granderson is going to be traded. I've enjoyed the memories we've made with him, but, he signed here, and when we reached the point where we weren't going to be contending, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to be sticking around. So that's fine. Pillar coming back in late August. By the time he gets back, Pillar is streaky. So, he could come back and be awful. I don't know. Let's put him aside just for a minute. Teoscar Hernandez has to be starting every day possible from now until the end of the season. He's been one of our best hitters. He's got okay arm strength, but other than that, But, he can hang out in right field. Grichuk has been great at the plate as of late. Did not mean to rhyme there. And as far as defense goes, he's been pretty great. I want to see him every day. Probably, I'd say left field, one of the corners anyway. And then, I want Dwight Smith Jr. up. I want him to play as many games as we can get him into. I want to see Anthony Alford get some starts. He'll probably be a September call-up.
Yeah.
Jonathan Davis, I don't see him getting a call-up when I see Smith and Alford being ahead of him on the depth chart. So, really, this is tough because ideally I would like Grichuk, Hernandez, and Dwight Smith Jr. to be our 3 outfielders, and our 4th one to be Pillar. But I know that's probably not going to happen, and we're probably going to see Pillar in center like the second he's ready to come back. And I think that's a mistake because, A, he's 29, B, he plays such a rough style. He's probably going to get hurt again if he gets rushed back. And we've got so many guys in the pipeline who are faster than Pilar, who are more dynamic in the outfield. I know Pilar makes the sexy catches, but I'd rather see Dwight Smith Jr., Anthony Alford get the reps in center, and then kind of build our outfield around having Hernandez and Grichuk swatting bombs at the plate and also, using their arms to kind of gun down some guys from the outfield.
I'd rather see the awesome Pilar catches in the outfield than some young guys getting reps out there. I live for Kevin Pilar highlights. I'm a big Kevin Pilar guy, though. I think he's way faster than you guys think.
He's not.
Oh, he's not that fast. You know what? Okay, he's fast enough, guys. He's fast enough. By the sounds of your guys' responses, it seems like Pilar, he will be there next year. It seems like Teoscar Hernandez and Randall Grichuk. It looks like those three guys are going to be our go-to outfielders pending some offseason moves. Yeah. I would like to see Alford over Dwight Smith Jr. and then have Dwight Smith Jr. kind of come up and down next year a little bit more, get some more MLB experience. But then I do think that we'll trade Anthony Alford or he'll leave, and then we got Dwight Smith Jr. I still think he needs a little bit more time. Yeah. But can we agree that, Pilar, Teoscar Hernandez, and Grichuk, I think those three guys, if they're not traded or anything like that, can we agree that they'll probably be on the opening day roster next year?
Yeah, I mean, I religiously check Anthony Alford's stats in AAA, and his batting needs so much work. Like he's batting below 200 this season in AAA. He's there because he needs to be, because I mean he's had some success at AA before, and so he had nothing left to prove down there, and he's been in Buffalo. I mean, his defense has been phenomenal. I've seen so many highlight reels of Anthony Alford's defense this season there. But I do want to talk about Jonathan Davis. We're going to talk about him in the farm report later on. But he started the season in New Hampshire with the rest of the super prospects. And he's kind of really come out of nowhere offensively this season. I'm not going to get into his stats too much, but he's played 8 games in Buffalo since he was promoted, and he's played very, very well.
Good.
So that's another guy who I think is going to be a dark horse candidate for that 4th outfielder spot. Depending where Alford finishes this season in terms of his offensive stats, we might see Jonathan Davis kind of overtake him in the organizational depth chart just purely because of the bat. Alford probably plays the best outfield defense in our farm system, but he's not ready offensively to be an everyday contributor.
Agreed.
I mean, center field's a place where you need a good defender, but you also need a guy who can hit.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the corner outfield positions being the home run spots. Check mark with Teo and Grich. They hit home runs. Yeah. Perfect. They play good enough defense. I think once Morales is gone, we might see Hernandez shift to a DH role.
Yeah.
If his defense, like, he hasn't played that much in the big leagues. He's got some time to figure it out. He's kind of like a Jose Bautista, where he's got that good arm.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't quite figured out the routes and just path to take to the ball. But that'll come for him. He's young enough. So yeah, I'm kind of with Patrick. That Teo and Grich are locked in those corner spots. Hernandez in left, Grich in right.
Would you like Alford in center?
Alford's the center fielder.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be there. That's what he's played since he started playing baseball.
That's the thing with outfielders, though. Like in the minors, you can move them all over the place. Like in Major League Baseball, it seems like outfielders,
it's a comfort thing, too.
That's the thing. It's a big comfort thing, but it's a business, too. I mean, if the manager wants you to play,
for sure,
you got to play that position. I think Alford would be a good center fielder, though, but I just think it'd be stupid to start him over Kevin Pilar.
It's interesting that we have a decent amount. We talk about our third base prospect and our shortstop prospects all the time, but we do have a decent amount of depth in our outfield positions, too. And there's guys like Davis who have kind of come out of nowhere this year to contend for future spots. And Davis I think he's 25 now, so he's on the older end of that prospect train, I guess, where it's kind of now or never sort of thing. He's kind of proving it this year that maybe it is now.
Let's get to topic number 2 here. We'll let Patrick start this one. Great players on bad teams. Who do you think is the most sad about their current situation out of these 4 guys? Mike Trout with the Angels, Jacob deGrom right now with the Mets, Snell with the Rays, or Real Muto for Miami. Is it Real Muto or Real Muto?
That's a great question. I always say Real Muto.
I always thought it was Muto, but now I'm thinking, is it Muto or something like that? But let's go Muto because that sounds better. Who do you think out of those 4 guys?
Mewtwo.
Yeah, I was waiting for a Pokemon reference there or something like that.
For you.
So who out of those 4 guys, Patrick, would you say dislikes their current situation the most?
It's got to be Jacob deGrom by like 7 or 8 lengths. And I don't know if I'm talking about lengths of a horse or lengths of an MLB baseball player. I don't know. But if there was some kind of race between the four of them, metaphorically, it's got to be Jacob deGrom. It's not even close. The guy has been so good this year for the Mets. The Mets.
Yeah, they're shit.
I mean, his FIP is 2.28. His xFIP is 2.77. Thank you, Professor Anderson.
You're
His
welcome.
ERA is 1.71. The dude is slightly less than half for ground ball percentage. He's not really given up a lot of home runs. And that's an understatement. He's leaving guys on base, left, right, and center. It's insane what he's doing. I honestly, like, if he wasn't on the Mets, I feel like you could make a great case for Jacob deGrom for a Cy Young Award.
I will say this one thing, though. At least Jacob deGrom might get traded. At least he knows that he might. Well, he might, though. At least in the back of his head, he might get traded out of that situation. You never know, because they got a lot of arms there. They might not be able to afford them. There have been some Jacob deGrom rumors. With a guy like Mike Trout, it just seems like he's going to be an Angel forever.
He's been wasted.
He's been wasting away in an Angels uniform. And they go out and get Ohtani and be like, hey, we're helping you out, Mike Trout. And then he's got to get shut down with elbow injuries. How do you think Mike Trout is feeling right now? Like, I mean, I know that he is the best player in baseball, and Mike Trout knows it. He would never admit that because he's a beauty and he's a nice guy. But what do you think Mike Trout's situation is right now? Like, do you think he's happy with the Angels?
It's got to be frustrating to be that good and just watch all these players get brought in around you. Like, they had Josh Hamilton brought in, they had Pujols brought in, who's still there because he has a huge contract. And Ohtani, like, he's been batting and he started playing catch again, kind of thing. They're hoping he'll pitch again this season, actually, which is pretty phenomenal considering the injury was potentially Tommy John's. But yeah, Mike Trout, I mean, he's been struggling a bit lately, but there was a game, it was yesterday, he went 0 for 0 with like 4 or 5 walks and 2 stolen bases. He was one of only like 3 players in like the last 100 years to have a game like that.
Wow.
He hasn't hit many extra base hits recently. He had a bit of a thumb injury that people think that it's uncomfortable for him to hold a bat a bit. But I mean, it's Mike Trout and he's finding ways to get on base. I mean, he walked like, I think it was 4 or 5 walks.
Yeah.
And 2 stolen bases the other night, which is a crazy game.
That's nuts.
But I think on this list of those 4 guys, for me, it's got to be JT Realmuto, who's probably like, get me the hell out of here kind of thing.
That's everyone in Miami.
He's maybe the best catcher in the league right now in terms of offensive and defensive production combined. And watching players like Stanton and Yelich get traded out of there, and having him he's kind of like the last guy on the bench right now, just kind of watching everyone kind of fade out of the picture around him. Like Thanos snapped and everyone but JT Realmuto disappeared in Miami.
Yeah.
And, the poor guy, like, I feel so bad for him, and there's been rumors flying around, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg to get that guy.
Yeah. He's
worth so much. He's young. He's got team control. His WRC plus is pretty high this season in terms of catching. Yeah, I think him and Snell, those poor guys, it's a good thing they're stuck in Florida where at least the weather's nice.
Yeah,
because other than that, they got nothing really going for them.
Patrick, what do you think about Mike Trout? Like, is he happy in LA playing for the Angels?
Yeah, I think he is, but here's the problem. Mike Trout is almost like a man out of time. Like it's almost like we're getting a chance to live out the scenario of what if Mickey Mantle played for a god-awful team for his entire career and never won a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's handsome, he's fast, he's got a great eye, he's got great hands, he can mash home runs, he can do everything. The man just does everything great. He is great with kids, he's great on social media, he hasn't done anything wrong as far as I can remember. And yet he's just, MLB has a cash cow with him, but he's stuck playing on a team in California that, no offense to the Angels, nobody gives a shit about compared to the Dodgers.
Yeah,
because
agreed.
the Dodgers are the team that brought baseball to California along with the Giants. And LA is forever going to be enamored with the Dodgers, and they're really not going to care so much about the Angels because aren't they still stuck in Anaheim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's
They're
where
the
their
Los
stadium
Angeles
is.
Angels of Anaheim. I think they're still
Yeah.
considered that or something.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, nobody wants to commute 2 hours out of LA to go to an Anaheim Angels game, even though Mike Trout is the best thing to happen to baseball in at least 15 years, maybe further back than the home run race that we saw between McGuire and Sosa. And we all know how that ended. We all know what kind of impact that had in the long term on baseball with the steroids and all the other foolishness. But Mike Trout, it's like watching Mickey Mantle be transported forward in time and just play for a shitty team that nobody cares about.
I'm just going to say
crazy.
this. I'm going to say this to end this off. I think it's Blake Snell because he has to play at the Trop, and anyone who has to play in that god-awful stadium, I feel really, really sorry for you. Let's get to the advanced stats segment here with Professor Anderson, and I just scrolled down here and took a look, and this one's going to be a doozy here. So get comfortable, grab a snack or something
walk
like
away
that.
come back in
We
5
like
minutes.
the stats here, and it's actually a really, really interesting one too.
Yeah.
I didn't really know much about this stat. I didn't even really know existed, as a matter of fact. So, Professor Anderson, you have the floor, good sir.
All right. So today's stat is the Sabre Defensive Index. So Sabre, or SABR, is the Society for
They
American...
make great printers.
Yeah, Sabre.
Sabre. Oh.
The Society for American Baseball Research. I should see if they're hiring, because that sounds like my dream job, to just look up baseball stats all day. Like, yeah, I could do that for a living. So at the start of 2013, the Sabre DI Defensive Index was started to use to help select the Gold Glove and the Platinum Glove winners by MLB. Their DI accounts for about 25% of the selection process for the Gold Glove. And that was added to the votes because managers and coaches vote for Gold Glove and Platinum Glove as well. So they kind of added some statistical evidence to support the claims of these guys. So Sabre uses a couple of different types of existing metrics that are already out there, and some of them I've mentioned before. It uses batted ball data. It uses under that there are defensive runs saved, ultimate zone rating, what I mentioned before, UZR, and also runs effectively defended, which is they're all very similar. They all have to do with batted balls in play, like for example outfield arms, double plays, catcher defense, and pitcher defense on bunts, a bunch of different crazy stuff, and also play-by-play accounts. So total zone rating is one thing that's in there, that wherever a ball is hit, like say it's hit on the ground to the left side of the infield, it's got a 60 value if the shortstop plays it and a 40 value if the third baseman plays it.
Gotcha.
Obviously a shortstop will make tougher plays because they're further out, so it's a tougher play to make. So it's a better value for that play being made. So there's so many different things that go into this stat, which is why it only gets released 2 times a year in the middle of the season. So the rankings came out July 15th, and then at the end of the regular season they release it again because they need to accumulate a ton of data. So there are some players who are very good defenders who aren't on this list because they haven't played enough innings due to injury, that kind of thing. Like we won't see Marcus Stroman in the pitcher rankings because he hasn't played enough yet to qualify for that. Interestingly enough, there are only 3 players in the league who have an SDI over 10. So anything above 0 is considered good in this.
Gotcha.
It's not like WRC plus where 100 is the base. 0 is the base here.
Yeah.
So anything above 0 means that you are a positive defender. So Matt Chapman, the Oakland Athletics third baseman,
Killing it.
he has a 17.2 SDI this year, which is by and far away the best in the majors. The next closest is Colton Wong from the Cards second baseman, who has a 10.7. So I mean, Matt Chapman, like we haven't seen him. We'll see him soon. I mean, I think we saw the Athletics at the start of the season. I didn't even know who this guy was.
Yeah.
But we'll see them next week, and I'm looking forward to watching him play defense. the Athletics first baseman, who I can't recall his name, was also pretty high up in the first baseman rankings as well. Alex Gordon, who we don't hear much of anymore because he's stuck in Kansas City.
His defense has always
been
good,
great.
Though. Yeah.
He's at a 10.6, and those are the 3 guys that are above 10. The shortstop race was crazy close between Iglesias and Andrelton Simmons, and there's one other guy who was in there who I can't recall right now. There's too many. I was overwhelmed by these numbers when I was looking at this. Lorenzo Cain, who is in his late 30s, is still the best defensive center fielder in the bigs.
Yeah.
Kevin Pillar was 4th best in the American League. I think it translated to about 9th or 10th overall in the league. And there was I think there were 14 or 15 qualified center fielders in terms of innings played at that position. Aaron Judge, little known for his defense, is actually the best right fielder in baseball based on this metric, which kind of surprised me. But I've seen some highlights of him making some good catches, and he's got a good arm, so that helps him a lot. Brandon Belt's the best first baseman. Buster Posey, his teammate, is the best catcher. And then Clayton Richard, who
great name,
I've never heard of, but his name's Clayton, so we like him, I guess. From the Padres, has a 4.6, and he's the best pitcher by a couple of runs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see a lot of these guys. We've seen Kane in the American League for a while. It's pretty evenly split between National and American League, which is pretty cool. JT Realmuto was high up on the catcher list. I think he was 3rd for this index. The best Blue Jay in terms of positional rankings was Justin Smoke, I think he's 3rd in American League.
Nice.
First baseman.
So I have a question with this. Does degree of difficulty, does that take in a factor? So like, would Kevin Pillar have a higher SDI because he's making diving catches and catches at the wall?
Yeah, like it takes into account like the batted ball, so where the ball is hit. Like and Statcast has probabilities of catch. Like when a ball is hit, if it's hit in this spot in the gap, it's got a 5% chance of being caught.
Gotcha.
So if a fielder makes that catch, they'll have a very high defensive score on that play. So that's why it takes so many innings, and that's why they do these metrics twice a year.
Yeah.
Because they need to get that data. Because a guy might have one play in a year that's a less than 5% likelihood of being caught. He might make that catch, and that skyrockets his score kind of thing. And if he misses it, it doesn't hurt him at all, really.
Gotcha. And what about base runner speed? Like, what if it's a Rajay Davis out there and an outfielder chucks out Rajay Davis, who's known to have a lot of stolen bases and runs? Does that kind of get the SDI up as well?
That helps. That goes into the total zone rating and the defensive regression analysis under the play-by-play accounts.
So it looks like an in-depth analysis look of defensive plays.
Yeah, these numbers are, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people, the gold standard for defensive output, and that's why they're used to determine the Gold Glove and the Platinum Glove, is because they're an all-encompassing defensive stat. They don't just look at like defensive runs saved is good, but it puts a lot of weight on arm and double plays, which is good, but it doesn't showcase everything. It doesn't talk about, like you said, with who the batter is. It leaves a lot of things out, whereas this Saber DI tries to include everything, and I think it does a pretty good job. I'm still learning about this stat.
It's tough to learn everything with this stat because there are so many variables
there's a lot to understand here. If you meet anybody who says they're an expert in the Saber Defensive Index, they probably work for the Society of American Baseball Research, because I think that's probably a few of the only people who understand this stat and could explain it in its full detail, and that would probably take you a 3-day seminar to learn everything about there is to know about Saber.
That was probably my favorite Professor Anderson segment because, it just shows how crazy baseball stats can be and how much you can take away from it. Like,
we don't
you
think
can have
about
that calculation of like, hey, if it's hitting this gap, he has a 30% chance of getting it. This will affect that. It's like, it's crazy how many stats you can get with that. That was Professor Anderson, as always, a treat. Let's get into the farm report, shall we? And we're going to start with Patrick here, because if we let Justin talk about Sean Reed Foley, we're going to be here all day long. So I'm going to let Patrick talk about Sean Reed Foley, because he has been great in AAA.
SRF.
Yeah, and I can't imagine you wanting to clean up the mess that Justin's going to make when he starts talking about SRF again.
I love this guy.
But I digress. Sean Reed Foley has been outstanding. He just got the International League Pitcher of the Week, so he was rocking a 3.53 ERA and a 3.23 xFIP in the last 12 starts with the Bisons. Last time we checked in on him, his ERA was over 4, so obviously we're seeing what we're calling positive regression.
Yeah, one quick note on that, too. His xFIP of 3.23 hasn't changed since our last episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that FIP is a very valuable tool when it comes to analyzing pitchers, and hopefully the 3 or 4 people who are listening to our podcast on a weekly basis are actually using that when they are setting their fantasy lineups, or maybe just enjoying listening to us talk about analytics. But Reed Foley's been great as far as striking guys out. He's managing the contact of batters a lot better. What really impresses me about this guy is that I haven't really heard very much from him, as far as like, sometimes you get these prospects who are like really hot to get up to the show and make their big impact, and Ryan Borucki, we've seen him come up and may have like an immediate positive impact on the team. And Sean Reed Foley's just kind of doing his thing in AAA. I don't know if it's because he's biding his time, or maybe he's just the kind of guy who's just happy playing the game. I don't know, but I really like everything there is about this guy, especially the fact that he's very quietly getting things done in AAA. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I like Sean Reed Foley. I think he still needs a little bit more time. I think Borucki is more of the guy than Sean Reed Foley. We were talking about it a month ago. Borucki, Sean Reed Foley. Who do you go with? I said Borucki, and I don't want to say a Totoso, but a Totoso.
Yeah, you Totoso.
Again, that's just because Borucki has been lights out. It's not because Sean Reed Foley has been pitching bad or anything. It's quite the opposite. They're just both pitching so good, but it seems like Borucki has been great. So I think Sean Reed Foley, he's just about a year away, I think. I know a lot of Blue Jay fans, especially Justin, think Sean Reed Foley should be with the big squad right now, maybe in the bullpen, something like that. Take out Biagini, put in Sean Reed Foley. But I just think that he's perfect the way he is right now. Keep him in AAA. Keep him, consistently getting a start every 5 days, getting him used to that schedule. So when he comes up to the majors, he'll be ready. When it comes to Jonathan Davis, we talked about him a little bit. Again, 353 and 34 at-bats since his promotion. He's got 4 stolen bases, too. He can run. He's good in the outfield. Again, we did touch on Jonathan Davis a little bit earlier, so I want to talk about Danny Jansen, because we need help when it comes to our catcher position.
Big time.
Russell Martin, Maley, they're not great. Danny Jansen, has he met your expectations this year when it comes to a prospect of his caliber?
Yeah, I mean, we knew Danny Jansen's going to be our catcher of the future kind of coming into this year. He's batting .275 on the year. His on base is over 400. It's at 402. He's actually walked one more time than he's struck out this season, which is impressive for anybody, let alone a catching prospect. He has cooled off a bit these past 30 days. He's only batting 170 in the last month, which is somewhat worrisome. But a couple of days ago, he had a 2 home run game and kind of shook off the slump a little bit. So we'll see what happens there if maybe he's coming out of it. I think a lot of Jansen's struggles his last little while here might be due to the fact that he's seen some new pitchers come through. Like we've had Sean Reed Foley come up. He's lost Borucki for the most part. Borucki did make one start over the All-Star break kind of thing. But he's learning new pitching staff, yada yada yada. He might be kind of refining his catching more than he's worried about the bat at this point. We know that he can hit. We've seen it from the last 2 or 3 years now that in the minor leagues that he can hit. So I'm not too worried about him at all. He's athletic. He only throws at about a quarter of the base stealers. So you like to see that number a little bit closer to a third, but I'm not going to nitpick that. As long as he can produce more offensively than Russell Martin or Luke Maley have this season in the future, I will never really care about how many runners he throws out, because that's minor compared to the offensive output.
Patrick, I'll ask you this question. the pitchers are so used to Russell Martin knowing the ins and outs of basically everything. Every batter in the lineup, he knows every pitcher on that team. That's the one thing that is awesome about Russell Martin. He is such a savvy veteran that he just knows so much about the position, and he's such a pro when it comes to the defensive side of it. We're not going to get into his offensive struggles because that's just going to make us mad. But do you think going from a guy like Russell Martin, a guy who has been in the league for a long, long time, and then going to a guy like Danny Jansen, who, again, doesn't really have the badges that Russell Martin has to tell these pitchers, don't do this, don't do that. Do you see that as a little bit of an issue, Danny Jansen's inexperience compared to Russell Martin's experience? Like, it's going to be a pretty big adjustment for our pitchers when that change inevitably happens.
Yeah, you both have kind of touched on a topic that I think doesn't get discussed enough when we talk about catchers and bringing them up or trading them or DFAing them or whatever. A lot has to be said about, battery mates, getting to work with the same pitchers on a daily basis. There's no doubt Russell Martin, his offensive output has been tremendously disappointing, and it's been in steady decline. But I've sort of come around to, Clayton, something that you said a number of weeks ago about how he does add more as far as defensive capability than anybody else we've got in the system right now.
Yeah.
And he also has that veteran leadership, and he can frame pitches like nobody else. And to be honest with you, despite the fact that he's swinging a plastic bag out there at the plate, he's still got some of the best eyes in the game. If you look at his OBP, I don't have Martin's OBP in front of me, but I know for a fact that it's much better than what you would expect for someone who's, batting
sub 200.
I think it was, like 184. He's below the Mendoza line.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting transition where you're going to see some combination of Melee and Jansen in the future with the team, because obviously Russell Martin is not going to get re-signed once his contract is up. It's pretty obvious that he is in the waning years of his career. He still has something to contribute to the team, and that's really important. And I'm really, really hoping that what they do is the smart thing and have Jansen and Martin work together for at least 1 or 2 years, full seasons, so that way Jansen can kind of transition over and be the guy who catches for at least Sanchez and Stroman, because they're clearly the guys for the future. Obviously, Jansen has experience with Baraki. They're battery mates, so I really like the idea of Jansen coming up at some point and staying up for good and learning as much as he can from Martin before that contract runs up, because there's no friggin' chance we're going to re-sign him, especially for that amount of money.
All right, let's talk about the best thing going for the Toronto Blue Jays franchise, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. Jordan Romano, Canadian, Eastern League Pitcher of the Week. He's been pitching really, really good. Fly ball pitcher. He's great. He's kind of been flying under the radar a little bit when it comes to our pitchers, but I want to focus more on the two sexy prospects because we're running a little low on time. So let's talk about the sexy prospects of the rest of the farm report here. We spent way too much time on our AAA guys. Vladdy Jr. and Bo Bichette. Again, Vladdy, 406 average on the year.
Only 406.
He's going to get promoted to AAA eventually. It's going to happen. He looks really healthy after coming off the DL. He's back to being Vladdy. But Bo Bichette, 27 stolen bases. No one ever talks about his stolen bases. They talk about his defense. They talk about his high batting average. I mean, 269 right now. Still pretty good.
Yeah.
How underrated of a weapon is Bo Bichette going to be when he's actually coming up for us? Because he can steal bases. He's a great fielder. I have a love affair with Bo Bichette, not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I always think of Boba Fett when I read Bo Bichette. I'm a bit of a Star Wars guy. But I mean, I think we might be the only people who consistently talk about his speed that I ever hear.
Yeah.
No one else seems to touch on it. And I think that's probably because everyone's like, oh, is he going to play shortstop? Is he going to play second base? He's going to steal bases is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's moved to the leadoff spot since Jonathan Davis was promoted to AAA, and he's walked I think 3 or 4 times in those games, which it hasn't been many. Obviously, Davis has only been gone for 8 games.
Yeah.
But before, like Bichette has a very low walk rate. He's kind of like Gurriel, where they swing a lot. They're very free swingers, but they have that power and that production that you don't mind if they strike out a fair bit. But I think Bo, he's a little bit behind where people thought he would be offensively this season. And I think he'll spend more time in AAA than Vladdy will. I think we'll see Vladdy in AAA next 2 weeks, maybe. I mean, it's getting to that point where it's like you're leaving this guy hitting 400 in AA. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point, right?
Yeah, call him up.
So, I mean, I think we'll see Vladdy spend the rest of the season in AAA whenever he's called up. And then we'll see him start with the Jays opening day next season because Donaldson's not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see Bo Bichette start in Buffalo next year just because we don't have an urgent need for him to be with the big club. And we'll see him there for half a season or something. He'll be the guy like Gurriel was, who will be like the first guy up next year. And that's fine with me.
Me too. I want to get to trade rumors and some other fun stuff at the end here. So we're gonna skip our low A guys. Patrick, really quick here. Our first round pick from this year's draft, Jordan Groshans. He's been playing really, really well with the GCL Blue Jays. He's got 3 home runs. He's got 8 doubles, which I really love. I love guys who can just get doubles. He's batting .410 against right-handed pitching, and his left-handed pitching average .250. Not even that bad. Do you see him going to high A ball in 2019 right away, Patrick? Or do you still think he needs some time to develop a little bit more? He is super young, but do you see him as a guy who could kind of sneak up our system really, really quickly?
Yes. I think what's going to happen is he's already proven that he is an excellent contact hitter, at least where he is right now. I think, if I'm not mistaken, his power rating was like 55 and his contact was 50, but we're kind of seeing the opposite right now. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen with his power numbers when he actually does move to Dunedin. And I think that's where he's going to start the year next year. There's no reason for him to go to Lansing. He's doing great in rookie ball right now. And I have to say, of all the shortstop prospects we have, aside from Bo Bichette, who is a base stealing machine, and one of us, I don't remember who, called it like way back when it came to Bo and his speed. This guy here, I think, is going to hit for power and for average a little bit better than Bo in the long term. That's just my guess. It's not really based on anything aside from the fact that this kid was very well scouted by Toronto. He was not expected to be drafted as high as he was. And the minute that he hit the ground running in rookie ball, he has been mashing. He's been very impressive. And I have a feeling that we lucked into something really special with Jordan Groshans.
Watch out Bo Bichette in the organizational shortstop of the future race, because this guy in a couple of years is going to be knocking on the door.
He's in rookie ball.
I know,
guys.
but
Let's pump the brakes.
he's only a year younger than Bo.
I know, that's true.
Bo's 19, or Bo might be 19 or 20, but this guy's 18. So I mean, age-wise, he's kind of in the same spot that Bo was when he started with us.
That's true. That's why I was asking. Do you think he's going to sneak up like Bo did?
I think he's a guy to look out for in terms of how long can you keep him in the minors if he keeps doing what he's doing. I mean, he's surprising a lot of people, which by all means keep doing it.
All right, let's talk about some trade rumors here really quickly.
Yeah.
The Phillies are looking at Granderson. Can we just agree that Granderson's gone?
He's gone somewhere.
Okay, so we don't need to get into Granderson a little bit too much here. What do you guys think about Roberto Osuna possibly being traded? Do you think anyone is going to want Roberto Osuna?
It's a risk right now because of the legal case still being ongoing. There's no denying that Roberto Osuna is one heck of a reliever. And there are teams like the Astros, Cardinals, and Cubs who are in some major need of bullpen help. We've seen the Cubs use position players quite frequently since the All-Star break even, and their position players who have pitched have a lower ERA than the Cardinals bullpen does since the All-Star break, so the Cardinals are in desperate need of somebody. And the Astros, with their closer Ken Gillies basically telling his manager to F off and being sent to AAA. They need some help there too. I think the big thing with Osuna is he's in AAA now.
Yeah.
He's eligible to come back August 5th, which is looming in like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now. So something's going to happen. Either we're going to see him in a Blue Jay uniform or he'll be somewhere else. He's going to be pitching August 5th. regardless of where he is.
Yeah, I don't think that we would get a lot in return for Roberto Osuna
No.
because of all the problems. So I think that's a bad move to
Yeah, I
trade
do
a guy who, again, maybe he's innocent, maybe he's not. I have a feeling he's not.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it'd be a good idea right now to trade him for something that he's not worth because of all of his bullshit he has going on behind the scenes. And I mean bullshit as, hey, Roberto Osuna, you're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
You're like not being like, whoa, it's bullshit what happened to him. No, like he's
not a good guy.
not a good guy. J Happ, apparently they've lowered the asking price on him. Do you like that, Patrick, how the Jays kind of said, you know what, we weren't getting too many good offers, we're lowering our price. Do you think that makes us look a little weak or no?
I mean, at this point, Happ has been great for us. I enjoyed his time with Toronto the second time around. A trade is going to happen. It's going to be the Yankees or the Mariners. We've banged that drum 3 or 4 weeks in a row. Lowering the asking price is fine. It doesn't really matter because he's just going to boomerang back to us anyway, says I. Exactly the same thing I said last week. It's okay if we get less because they're only getting like a 2 or 3 month rental of J Happ, and that's not going to be worth a lot anyway. So I don't know. Send him over to the Mariners, and hopefully the Mariners do some damage in the playoffs. Just to double back, though, with regards to Roberto Osuna, I don't think the Astros or the Cubs are really going to give a shit what he did or didn't do off the diamond. We're talking about the last 2 winners of the World Series.
True.
They're going to want to get back. They're going to want to play, and they're going to want to win. And they're actually going to want to pay more than what we think they're going to want to pay for yes, a bad person, but he's still an elite reliever based on everything that we've seen him do in his career to date. So I do think that Osuna has quite a bit of value right now. I think it's just a matter of what team is going to roll the dice on the whole legal proceedings and how are they going to market that to fans to be like, yeah, we're bringing in this guy. You know, he did this shitty stuff and Toronto didn't want him, but we want him because we know he's a winner and we were winners a year or 2 years ago and we want to win again and this guy's going to help us do it. I don't know how they'll spin it, but I could see Osuna getting dealt to either one of those teams and us being able to get a good quality pitching prospect and, you know, whatever. We'll find a reliever to fill the gap. Osuna does kind of fit the age that we want a reliever to be right now. So, I mean, if we don't get maximum return for him or if we're not happy with it, I don't see the point in trading him immediately. Maybe we kind of wait for the court proceeding. I don't know. I really don't know what to say when it comes to Osuna anymore because I'm just so frustrated.
You don't know what to say, but you just went off there for about 5 minutes there, bud.
I know.
Let's talk about Josh Donaldson.
He's not going anywhere.
You don't think he's going anywhere?
Not before the July 31st deadline. We'll see him moved at the waiver deadline in August.
Yeah.
He's not playing baseball right now. He's doing some light running, and that's really about it. I mean, there's no timetable for him. He's probably 3 weeks away at best at this point. That's the middle of August. I mean, it's tough to say what we'll get, if we'll get anything of value for him at this point. It's going to be one of those things we're just going to try and recoup anything we can.
I think teams are going to be interested because he's Josh.
I know. I want to see him come back and be Josh Donaldson again. I don't want to see this broken ball player who can't run to first base come back and do the same thing over and over again and just keep hurting those calves.
Speaking of broken ball players, Troy Tulowitzki. Last segment of the day here. Patrick, we'll let you go first here. Let's say Troy Tulowitzki is healthy next year and he's good to go. Would you want the Jays to be like, you know what, let's give Troy Tulowitzki another chance, or do you think Troy is never going to be healthy again? Do you think that he'll play for the Jays again? Is he dead? He's not doing anything right now. Like, we haven't heard too much of anything from his rehab or anything like that. Neither is the Jays organization, really. Like, do you think Tulo is in the Jays' future, or do you think they've moved on?
Look, I love Troy Tulowitzki. I think it is absolutely horrible what has happened to him in this last year, struggling with these injuries. I thought that if Tulo was going to come back, it was going to be, in early July. here it is, late July, and there was something that popped up on MLB.com July 20th about Tulo, and how he's still very, very slow rehabbing in his progress. I love Tulo. Mad respect to him. He's one of my favorite players to ever play. But I think he's just done. I don't see him coming back this year, and next year there's way too big a logjam as far as our shortstops. I know we're on the hook for the salary, and I know he's still a star, and I know they can market that and all that stuff. I don't think Troy Tulowitzki is going to play another inning of Major League Baseball, and that's a really sad thing to say.
He's going to get one more try.
I think he'll get one more try, and he'll get hurt again.
And then he will retire, because he'll know at that point that it's time to give it up.
When he retires, though, he'll be considered one of the elite players in baseball for his generation. Because I mean, that time in Colorado, my goodness,
he might have been the best player in baseball.
He was so good for so long. That's it for us, though. We classic us went over by 25 minutes. Because, you know what, once we start talking about ball, it's just fun. We have some fun. And that's the point of this thing. So make sure you follow us all over the place. Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music. Just look up Bat Flips Maple Dips. Episode 8 in the books. We'll see you later, friends. On behalf of Justin and Patrick, it's Clayton. Have a good one.